DC dropped a Flash comic series that sets up the events of the Flash movie, so let's see what they want us to know. What's up, my comic comrades? The Flash movie is almost upon us, and in preparation for the movie, we're going to talk about the movie prelude comic that leads directly into the film. That's right, in 2022, writer Kenny Porter wrote the 3-issue prelude series called The Flash, the Fastest Man Alive, that is a direct line to the film. It actually shows us things like how the Flash got his Flash ring and the new costume that he's wearing in the film. So let's get into it. The first issue opens up in Central City at Sally's Showcase amusement park, where the Flash shows up to stop some thugs selling stolen automatic weapons. He then uses his super speed to make quick work of the bad guys before he calls for his insurance policy as he says, "Girder!" as the supervillain Girder comes busting out one of the trucks. If you guys aren't aware who Girder is, his real name is Tony Woodward, and he got transformed into a giant steel monster with super strength after being thrown into a vat of molten steel at Star Labs. In any case, the Flash starts to attack Girder, but his hands literally break when he punches him. As Barry says, "My god, it's like punching a wrecking ball." Girder is able to make quick work of the Flash and get away with the weapons and thugs that hired him. We find out the reason why Girder is working for these thugs as their bodyguard is because he needs money to save his pop, who's sick in the hospital. So he's very much a sympathetic villain, sort of kind of like Mr. Freeze, at least in this interpretation. Similar in that he's only committing crime to save a loved one. And after this, the Flash and Girder would get into another confrontation, with Barry being manhandled by Girder yet again, ultimately running away, saying, "This is too much. I can't do this on my own. I need help." He then runs to Gotham City, where we see Batfleck taking on Jack-o'-lantern themed villains on motorcycles. And since they're on motorcycles, so is Batman, but this one's different than the one we're gonna see in the Flash movie, because there's one thing we know about Batman: he's got multiples and variations of everything. Batman easily takes out one of the Jacks, shooting a weighted net at one of them, at which point the Flash shows up and takes out the other one for Batman, with Batman saying thanks for the assist. Remember, as we saw in the Justice League, the Flash has kind of become a protege of sorts to Batman, as Bruce is the one who found him and asked him to join the Justice League. In any case, Barry says to Bruce, "So, crazy story. I tried this whole solo hero thing and it's not going well. A giant metal man called Girder has gone all Terminator on me and is trying to kill me. I kind of just been shoving crime up until now, you know, not actually fighting crime. So I'd like to stop breaking my fingers each time I hit him, or have a panic attack whenever I see anything made of metal." Batman says, "Do you want to learn how to fight? I'm not sure I'm the best teacher for you. My methods are a little different, but we could try." So again, this is just expanding on the relationship that was established in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Not Whedon's, Snyder's. Back at the Batcave, we see Barry talking to Alfred, asking, "What are you working on, Alfred?" "Looks like micro-compression technology." Alfred responds, "Master Bruce is trying to make his suits more portable and durable. One must always be improving and experimenting. I wonder what that technology is going to be used for." After this, Bruce starts teaching Barry how to throw a punch and fight. Bruce gets in a ton of hits, which ultimately angers Barry, with Bruce saying, "Yes, now dig deep, find that drive, and show me what you're made of." Barry then runs around in a circle super fast, punching the wall so hard next to Bruce, it shatters the concrete, but not his hand. Barry then says, "How did I do that? I'm not even scratched." Bruce replies, "Can't say the same for my wall. You must have hit supersonic speeds and were able to alter the molecules in your body," with Barry finishing saying, "Making my fist denser, but wrecking everything around me." Bruce then says, "If you could replicate that technique, you could easily put a dent in Girder." Long story short, Barry goes round 3 with Girder, but at the beginning says, "I can't do this. It's too much." The Batman comes in saying, "On your feet, Flash. Listen to me. Barry, you went toe-to-toe with the worst the universe had to offer and saved the planet. You rushed here to save lives knowing you could lose this fight. Failures don't do that. Brave men do." Barry then says, "What if everything I've done till now has just been a lie? What kind of hero am I if I keep messing up?" Batman then presents him with the Flash ring, saying, "You're the best kind, the kind that gets back up and keeps fighting." Barry then takes the ring and asks, "What's this supposed to be?" with Batman firing his grappling gun, saying, "The Flash isn't gone. His story is just beginning." And that's a little gift from Alfred and me to usher in that new era. It's time for the fastest man alive to get back on his feet. Now, if you're done sulking, there's a monster to stop. Barry then gets back into action, activating the ring, and sees that it's a brand new high-tech Flash costume that shoots out as he instantly puts it on, telling us that Bruce and Alfred put that micro-compression technology to good use. With his brand new fancy costume and restored confidence, he makes easy work of Girder, and even though he locks him up, Barry makes sure that Girder's pop gets the help he needs in the hospital. That closes out issue 1 and leads us to issue 2. But while we're talking about Batman, have you seen the insane Batman collectibles lineup from Jazz Inc? Today's sponsor, Jazz Inc Dioramas, creates some of the most insane 1/6 scale collectibles on the market. In fact, we've shown you guys several of their pieces in the past, and I'm sure you can see why. The 1966 Batmobile we previously featured on the show has completely sold out and is already going for crazy prices on the secondary market. I mean, just look at this full 1/6 scale 1989 Batwing, which was spotlighted on the Adam Savage show Tested. This is one of the most iconic Batman vehicles in the character's history, full stop. And the detail on this beast is just next level. You could actually still jump on the waiting list for the Batwing with our link in the description. But you could also score their new 1/6 scale 1995 Batmobile and the Batman vs Superman and Justice League Batmobiles. Not to mention, everyone is talking about the return of the GOAT Keaton Batman, and right now you can pre-order this 1/6 scale 1989 Batmobile as seen in the classic movie and the Flash film. This design is based on the exact measurements sourced from the archive of Warner Brothers schematics, from the large jet turbine intake flanked between the front bumpers to the sculpted bat fins at the back. Every detail was analyzed and considered for what results in a 1/6 scale masterpiece. So upgrade your Batman collection with these ultimate and screen-accurate collectibles at jazzinkdioramas.com/Batman or click our link below. They'll be the grail piece of any collection. Okay, so issue 2 picks up at the Central City shipping docks as we see henchmen of Monteleone smuggling illegal goods. But they're stopped by the Scarlet Speedster, and at this point, Jack Monteleone, who runs the family's operation, says, "I can't believe this. How am I supposed to make money in this town?" As we see his meta-human brother Tar Pit in the shadows saying, "You're thinking too small, big brother. God put you in charge, but sometimes it takes more than $1,000 suit to run a business." Jack says, "Come on, Joey, you know I've done my best for you in this family. I promised mom and dad to take care of you in the business. And after your accident," Joey says, "I didn't have an accident, Jack. I had an awakening. It's time for you to wake up, big brother, because if you think I'm going to let you run our livelihood into the ground, then you're dreaming." I'm handling the next shipment out of Hub City as we see him stomp out of the office, and I just gotta say, Tar Pit looks 100% like a symbiote. If you guys aren't familiar with Tar Pit, he is the younger brother of a drug lord that one day learned he could project himself into inanimate objects. However, one day he became stuck in a bunch of asphalt and became Tar Pit. Anyway, after this, we see Barry Allen is interning at the Central City Research Center, hoping to become an official CSI one day. But we learn he's having trouble balancing his part-time job, his internship, and being the Flash, so in true Barry Allen fashion, he is always late. While talking to his boss, he sees on the news that Tar Pit has stolen an armored truck, so he has to run out of there saying he needs to go to the bathroom. When confronting Tar Pit, Barry is having problems controlling his vibrations, losing control of himself and his speed. So much so that anything he touches blows up, like a car that almost hit innocent bystanders. At this point, he says, "I can't focus. I can't control my vibrations," so he runs out of there, saying, "Don't touch anything or anyone," so they don't explode. This obviously allows Tar Pit to steal the armored truck and get away to his family's house. Meanwhile, in the family penthouse, we see Tar Pit and his brother as Tar Pit screams from the balcony saying, "See that, bro? I just made us a cool 100 million. But Jack just tells his baby bro, "Hush, you mind not shouting it to the whole world from our balcony? You dropped our family name during the heist. The cops have started to ask questions." But this just pisses off Tar Pit, saying, "I'm gonna do what I should have done a long time ago. If you're ashamed of me and what I could do for this family, then I've got a solution. You're out permanently." At which point he uses his tar to melt and trap his big brother inside of a limo, while he goes and does more jobs. Meanwhile, back at Barry's hideout, Barry starts doing experiments on what's happening to him, saying, "I'm not just vibrating, I'm phasing my molecules through solid matter." Which is cool, except that it keeps happening sporadically, and I'm causing everything to explode after I excite the molecules of that object. He then tries to phase his hand through a piece of metal, saying, "If I could just keep my phasing vibrations constant and stable, I should be able to move through objects without affecting them." People, on the other hand, absolutely not. Too dangerous. At which point, Barry continues to teach himself how to phase through solid objects. So this is very cool. The first issue, we see how Barry learned to fight and got his Flash ring and costume, and in this issue, we're seeing how Barry from the DCEU learned/is learning how to phase through solid objects. After this, Barry goes to visit his dad at Iron Heights Penitentiary to vent, saying, "I've got so much on my plate. I don't know how to handle it right now. I'm failing at everything because I can't multitask." Barry's dad gives good advice, saying, "Just focus on one problem at a time. Learn to be in the moment, kiddo. Trust me, the older you get, the more you wish you had." Barry then puts his dad's advice to good use, and the next time he fights Tar Pit, he saves a mom and son who've been trapped in a car by phasing himself through the car and even phasing them out, using his phasing ability successfully for the first time in action. Knowing Barry can't defeat Tar Pit by hitting him because his hand will burn right off, he uses vibrations to punch a hole right through him, while also stopping his illegal shipment on a boat nearby by running on water. In the end, Barry learned how to deal with his problems, defeat Tar Pit, bring down his family, and most importantly, learned one of his core abilities, phasing through solid objects. But just like that, we're on to issue 3. Alright, the third and final issue of this series introduces the villain, the Top, to the DCEU Flash universe. The Top is Roscoe Dillon, who is incredibly smart and gained the ability to generate and control centrifugal force. And at the beginning of the issue, we see him breaking into Central City's advanced robotics lab and turn one of the robots there into a killing machine, attacking all of the scientists who work there. Luckily, the Flash comes in to save the day, pulling out the device that makes the robot go crazy, saying, "Who fashions a remote unit to look like a top?" And the answer is simply the villain, the Top. And after this, we learn that the top is developing weapons to take out metahumans and has investors backing him. And his point man is saying, your big wallets want a demonstration. At which point, Dylan opens up a secret door, revealing his top suit, saying, if they want a demonstration, then I've got just the thing. Make sure they keep their eyes on the news. I plan on making headlines, as he grabs a domino mask. He then spins off as his point man says, hang on, we don't want any unwanted attention. The last person we want in Central City for you to run into is the Flash. Dylan, where'd you go? We then get a page of Barry visiting his father yet again, and then a page of him at Central City Crime Lab where we see he's been the best worker there for a month, having gotten his stuff together since the last issue. Long story short, the top plans to demonstrate his anti-metahuman weapons by defeating the Flash while it's live broadcast on the news. During their fight, the top gets the upper hand on the Flash and threatens the city that if they don't hand over the Flash to him, he's going to use his giant spinning tops to drill craters all over Central City. Basically trying to make the city lose faith in the Flash and no longer support him, proving his weapons are superior. Back at Barry's hideout, he says to himself, Top's powers not only threw off my equilibrium, he's fast enough to hit me if I slow down even for a second. I can't go too fast in the middle of the town or I'll cause more damage than I already have. Someone's going to get killed, or everyone for that matter. I have to be fast without being distracted. And I've got less than 19 hours to figure it out. So the Flash goes to a track and field to train as he teaches himself to make after images, realizing that they could throw the top off with him thinking that after images are really the Flash. So like I said before, each of these issues are showing us something very pivotal to the Flash's growth, really becoming the fastest man alive that we all know. It's just really cool that this series is showing us how the DCU Barry learned all of this stuff. And I gotta say, this is one of the better preludes that leads directly into a film. It's giving us a lot of good info. After this, the top meets up with the mayor, who says, I take it you're gonna do the right thing. The mayor says, that's right, we're gonna do the right thing. We refuse to hand over the Flash. And let me tell you, they were right. When the Flash arrives shortly after, his after images do in fact trick the top, enabling him to pull out the win and destroy all the massive city drilling tops. The issue then ends with Barry in his Flash costume saying thank you to Henry Allen, as Henry Allen gave advice to Barry earlier that Barry supposedly gave to the Flash, but as we know, they're one and the same. And on the last page of the issue, we see the Flash doing what he does. Running. But there you have it, guys, the Flash, Fastest Man Alive prelude comic that leads us directly into the solo film. So if you wondered how Flash got his new costume and ring and how he learned to do things like phase through solid objects and create after images, this is the book that just told us. So essentially this prelude is just filling in a lot of the gaps we're going to need heading into the Flash movie, which is just really cool to see. Let us know what you guys thought of this miniseries, and are you excited for the Flash movie? Sound off below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time when I talk about all things comics.